to the Brits. No Brits.
George and Jeff talk to Ridley.
We'd like to welcome Ridley Pearson to the show. Ridley is the author of the wildly successful Kingdom Keeper series and co-author of the Starcatcher series. This is a fantastic treat for both of us. I'm a public librarian, and both of us are rabid book nerds. I know we both enjoy the Kingdom Keeper series and the Starcatchers as well. Well, Ridley, let's get started. Can you tell us where the idea for the Kingdom Keepers actually came from?
I can, George, but first I have to warn you of something, and that is that when I grew up, there was a really crazy guy on our street who rode around, a kid my age, who rode around at dusk wearing a black cape, and this on his bicycle. And this is about, 35, 40 years before Harry Potter. And that crazy individual grew up to be a librarian.
Hey.
So if you think I trust you, you would be mistaken. The Kingdom Keepers came out of two things. The first is that I went into my first Disney kingdom very late in life, and I was in the company of my wife and a 5-year-old and maybe even a little less than that. And about a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And on the way out, I had this Toy Story moment where I realized none of the characters that we'd seen all day, Goofy and Minnie and Mickey and Donald and Barbossa and everybody, none of them had come out with us. And I thought, well, my gosh, they're all stuck in there for the next 12 to 14 hours before they open this up. And then this little, fairy godmother in my head said, whoa, what are they doing while we're asleep? So that was sort of part one. And part two was that I write thrillers for adults. I have another one coming out in June called The Risk Agent. And I had a conversation with Disney Books about an unrelated matter. And I was telling this editor, Wendy Lefcon, all editors at Disney Books are required to be named Wendy. And mine was Wendy Lefcon. And I was having a talk with her about how I had noticed being in the kingdoms for the first time, how every attraction told a story. I'm a big proponent of mythic 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, basically. And I had noticed that every attraction had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And she said, well, do you know about these guys, the Imagineers? And she explained to me the whole Imagineer occupation, which, by the way, I think if I'd known about it 30 years ago, that would have been what I wanted to be coming out of college, but I didn't know about it.
That's what we all say now.
I know. Isn't it amazing? How did we miss that one? And so we got to talking, and at the end of it, she said, well, you've picked up on something here, and would you ever be interested in writing one of your adult thrillers set and aimed at a younger audience inside our theme parks? And I said, sure, but the way I write my crime novels is I do a whole bunch of research, so you would have to give me unfettered access to your parks. And she said, well, that would be a deal breaker. And I said, okay, well, thanks for chatting. And she came back a month later and said, guess what? I got you full access to our theme parks.
Wow.
So for whatever it is now, 9 years, 10 years, I've carried a VIP pass to all the parks around the world. And when I call ahead, they arrange an Imagineer to go with me after dark into the parks. And we walk all around the rides, and I take furious notes, and then they wake up the rides for me, and I ride them alone. And it's really an amazing experience. Wow. And that's what I've put into the Kingdom Keepers, is that sort of firsthand experience of being scared out of my boots inside Disney World after dark.
Yeah, I rode Pirates once in the dark with my brother, all alone, and it was very frightening.
It is.
It's crazy.
No music, no colorful lights, no audio animatronics. You're just chugging through this thing, and actually I got into the sort of harbor fight, the cannon fight.
Yes.
And I said, would it be possible for me to go up on the ship with Blackbeard? At that time he wasn't called Barbossa. And
yes.
I did. I got out of the boat. They said, you can do whatever you want, Ridley. And I got out of the boat and got onto these cat tracks and went up and catwalks and stood there with Barbossa. And he had human hair glued on his arms. He has bloodshot eyes and moles and warts. And I just went, wow, why does he look so real? And the guy standing next to me said, because if he didn't, he would look fake. And I said, oh,
good answer.
You mean it's like books?
Good answer.
If the
Wow.
characters are cardboard, it doesn't seem real. And he said, that's right. And off I went.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask is what was the coolest behind the scenes area or thing that you saw or did? And that sounds pretty amazing. Can you
That was a
top
good
that
one.
story?
Yeah, I can. You know, when I get this question from kids, because I speak to a lot of middle schools, I say, George, did you have a mother and a father?
Well, yes.
Which did you love better?
Oh.
And you see, it stops them every time because I can't pick a favorite. I have had so many unusual experiences. I was in Small World, and two of the dolls stepped forward. And if you hold a gun to my head, I will tell you, two of the dolls stepped forward.
That's
now, the
pretty
Imagineer
frightening.
I was with said, Ridley, the ride is shut down. There is no possible way that happened. And I said, sir, I am scared to where I need new underwear. I am telling you, this ride came alive. And so I wrote
a
about
big
it that
fear.
way.
That's a big fear. That was a very when I read that in the book, I was like, I may have to put this down for a while because that was very
And
frightening.
I was in the Utilidor, which your listeners may know because they're all nerds.
Yes.
That, you know, there are tunnels under the Magic Kingdom, and I saw this giant 4-foot pipe and 4-foot diameter pipe, and I said, what is that about? And he said, have you ever seen trash being carried out of the park?
Yeah.
And I said, no. And he said, that's because here at Disney World, Ridley, we suck the trash out of the park. And sure enough, he took me upstairs to where there are these sort of submarine hatches. And when you open them, they make a giant sucking noise. And when you drop a bag of trash in there, it's gone. And it
But
goes
you
like a mile through the tunnels and gets spit out into a compactor.
But you didn't crawl through the tunnels like in the books, though.
No, because that would kill you. But
Of course. I was like, all right, just making sure.
Doesn't kill a hologram. But I did
Oh, that's
stand
right.
there, George.
The
I did
DHI.
stand there, and I said, wait a second. Kid, trash bag. Kid,
Yeah.
trash bag. If a kid did a cannonball, he'd be about the size and weight of a heavy trash bag. So by the end of the book, the kids, although they're holograms, are doing cannonballs into the trash system.
I wonder how many kids actually attempted that since the book came out.
Let's hope none.
Yeah, I'm
because
hoping
there'll-
none, but-
There'll be some lawsuits on that one.
Well, I know you've mentioned him in the books, in a few of the books, and you've worked with Alex Wright on a lot of things. Alex
have.
Wright is a great friend. What kind of stuff did Alex do with you? Was he one of the guys taking you on the tour? Was he a technical consultant, or?
Alex has basically done everything. He has been on many of the actual, on-site walkarounds. He has been a phenomenal data researcher because he's written all the books on the parks, those little guidebooks that are
Those
so
are fantastic.
fabulous. And so he knows everything. And, I don't pretend to know everything. I just try to write as if I know everything. Different. Just like in writing police procedurals, I'm not pretending I'm a cop, but I do write as if I'm a cop, I hope. And so, it's a little tough because, as you guys know, the people who know Disney really know Disney.
We really know it.
Yes, we do. Well, that was, the book has such a wide age range for fans. Did that surprise you? Because you're going to have the middle school kids that love it, but then you're going to have grown-ups like me that love it because of where it takes place and who's involved with it.
Yes, and frankly, I love that. I mean, we have determined that about a third to a half of the buyers of the book are adult readers for their own reading, not for their children. And I did not anticipate that, of course, when I wrote the first book and went on to write a series. But it's fun for me because, of course, I'm an adult writing it. So I would hope adults would like it because I'm not in any way writing down to or attempting to write down to an audience. I'm trying to write a book that I would like to read. And if it happens to be PG-13 rated, that's just my market. But I certainly don't write down to that. I think the minute you write down to younger readers, they will catch that in a heartbeat and throw that book across the room so fast. And they're much smarter than I am. These kids read these books 5, 6, 7 times, and they know them in and out. And of course, I've moved on, I've written a couple more thrillers in there. I've written a couple of Peter and the Starcatchers. I've written 6 other Kingdom Keepers. And somebody says, scene in the second book? And I go, the scene in the second book. So you got to stay sharp when you're writing for young readers.
Oh, I can imagine. The characters have grown so much and so well in their young teens, and I've noticed, of course, the romance is starting. Has that been a big thing? Have parents approached you about some of the changes? Because you mentioned you want to write the books that you want to write or you would enjoy. Have you had any?
Listen, I don't ever want to write anything offensive, because the reason those kids are aging is my kids are aging. My kids that I wrote about early were in middle school, and my oldest is now in high school, which is the same age as the Kingdom Keepers, because that's the stuff right under my nose. And I feel that's the stuff I can give the most verisimilitude to. So, I try not to, and I hope I have never written something that is inappropriate, because I don't want younger readers to read that. So I try to draw a very stern line there. However, that said, some dark things are going to happen in these books. And that's just because that's when I originally did the arc, the 3-act structure to the entire series. I've known where it's going for years. And things are going to get a little darker before they get brighter, but hopefully it won't be in an inappropriate way.
Sure.
Just eviscerations and, draw quarter and, put them in the dungeon. And